Hi Ma, welcome back for the last topic of Unit 4. So in the last class, we learned about two stages or two steps for documentation reconstruction. One is how to extract information, in what way, okay, and next one is how to create the database construction, how to make the database construction or how to construct the database by using SQL and Perl. Some syntax we have been learned. So after extracting information and placing some information in the databases, it is a time to us to collect all the relevant information at one place. Because an application, even though we have only one, but the application we can't construct with a single module, right? We have multiple modules. In single module, one variable is going to be used by another, maybe based upon the function calls, or interdependency will be there. So we have to trace out whether which we can reconstruct or which can't we can reconstruct. Because after collecting at one place, so there is an ambiguity, there is a problem. Okay, we may not able to satisfy all the variables, right? So we have to think it off. So view fusion involves defining and manipulating extracted information. What it is going to do? Defining and manipulating have to change to reconcile and augment. What is augment, ma? Adding and establish connections between the elements. So it is going to combine different elements by trying to connect between different modules based upon the function calls or the parameter passing, etc., etc. Okay, so different forms of extraction should provide complementary information. Means with different forms of extraction, whatever you are going to be extracting new information should not provide the same information. So for any extraction we have to give some new information. That is the meaning of complementary. It should not be the same, should be different. Okay. So how the fusion is going to be done, we will see here. So this is only the picture which conclude about the fusion. Okay. So what the picture conveying is, if you observe here, these are the static information. Means it doesn't or it will not change at any cost. Right, input value is going to be used by get value, input value is going to be used by the set value. Okay, so a list we are going to be declaring as empty, we are going to give the length of the list, we are going to be attaching some characters or deleting some characters, adding, okay, some primitive operations will be there we want to perform for the function variable, for the function called as a compute. So the static information, right, and coming to the dynamic information. Dynamic information, if you observe here, these are all called as a static. But when you started from here, the compute function, the value may not be the same. They may be changed. They may be the change. Variables are fixed, but the value which you are going to give for the input, they not be fixed, right? They may be changed. If that is the case, that is called as a dynamic. Okay, so we have to decide here. Whenever some elements are combining, verifying from different modules or views, we have to take decision here, which one we have to include, which one we have to omit. Obviously, without any doubt, we have to include static variables because they have to include. With that, we may have some knowledge also. So, what is happening? But whenever you are going to refer any other functions which are going to take input at the time of execution, okay, so we should not consider them because after we don't have the code, we are reconstructing that for the documentation. So how can you execute? If you have the code, we can execute, right? As we don't have the code perfect, we are trying to collect from the scratch, okay, from the beginning, then we may not able to get the dynamic values, right? So in that case, we have to omit the dynamic connectivity, okay, or load binding, right, or late binding, etc., we can use. So which is going to take output at the time of execution. See further what they are going to be added in the fusion view, all the variables which we need, they are going to be included. But whenever all the functions which is taking input at the time of the execution, we have to omit because we can't able to execute, we can't able to break the output. So from here we have to start the process, right now. So this is called as a view fusion. Coming to the last step called as a reconstruction. What is this, ma? Reconstruction. What is a reconstruction? Now after extracting some information, okay, after preparing some database, now after combining some different data as one place and taking a decision which one include and which one delete. Now we have to start reconstruction. The reconstruction will start from the reverse only, because we have to think in advance what can be the value for this outcome, what can be the steps we have to construct for this outcome. Okay, so if that is the input we have taken to get this outcome, then what can be the interaction with any other modules? What are the other modules we have? So we have to think in reverse direction. That is called as a reverse process or reverse engineering, we can say. See, up to this point, the view information has been extracted, stored and refined or augmented to improve its quality, right? But this reconstruction operates on views to reveal broad, coarse-grained insights into the architecture. So it is going to find out the new facts here. Okay, so reconstruction consists of two primary steps. See, one is the first, visualization and interaction. Whenever the user is going to be interacting to the system, what they will get, outcome, how it is going to be represented, how it is going to be presented to the user. Next one is a pattern definition and recognition. The pattern is the line of code which you want to define to get that output. Okay, so see, we will see one by one. First one, visualization and interaction. So visualization and interaction provides a mechanism by which the user may interactively visualize, explore and manipulate the views. Okay, right. So how they are going to do? How they are going to do is, as we have a modules, they are going to be represented in a rigid tool. They are going to be represented in a rigid tool. Okay, so an example they have been shown to explain you better. See, it's a good diagram for you. The architectural view represented in DALI. See this. So here we have a lot of modules. If you verify here, okay, lot of modules. Okay, those, if you are going to get some output to any user, it is not a single step, but it is a collection of steps, right? So how they are going to be collected? Because they have some interaction. They want to give some input. They want to perform some output. Give some output. Okay. So based upon the interaction they have from one component to another. So this sub is going to be interacting with them. So all some functions are going to be interacting here. So all the interaction we have to find out. Okay, so this is happening at the visualization simply, so that the interdependency or interaction is going to be revealed in this step. So after that, pattern definition recognition. So pattern recognition, what is the line of code they have been used for this interaction? How many parameters they have given for the input? What type of parameters they have given for to get that output? So we have to think like that. So pattern definition recognition provides facilities for architectural reconstruction. How? It is a definition recognition of the code manifestation of architectural patterns. Yes, identifying the code in reverse process. Okay. So DALI's reconstruction facilities, for example, allow a user to construct more abstract views of a software system, right, by identifying aggregations of elements. All elements is going to be combined and they are going to find out their connectivity. Okay, so these patterns is going to be represented or presented in terms of SQL and Perl only. SQL and Perl only they are going to use. So further, these two is called as code segments. Okay, so whatever you have been constructed by using the SQL and Perl are called as a code segments. Now we have some code segments. Now we have some programs or functions we have in our hand. By identifying different variables, their connectivity, by decision making whether we have to include our verification or not. If they are going to be dynamic variable, we should not include. If they are going to be static, they should include like that. Okay. So an SQL query is used to identify elements from the DALI repository that will contribute to a new aggregation. Obviously, the SQL write the query. After that, and Perl expressions are used to transform names and perform other manipulations. Means, so after getting some output, we have to give our own names for the variables we have been taken, because we don't know the original values, original names, original functions names, etc. So it is a time to give new names to us. So code segments are retained and users can selectively apply and reuse them. Now after executing this, we may get the output now. So suppose that our database contains subset of elements and relations as shown below. So whenever at the time of execution, whenever there is interdependency, obviously there is interdependency in any code, there is no doubt at all, because we can't write application with a single function. Okay, see this. This is our element. That element can be file, directory, or whatever it is. The element is going to give some relation with any other element. Maybe it is also file, directory, or variable, whatever it is. So here the f is going to be defined a, okay, and f some element. Some what is element? Maybe function. If it is a variable here, this can be called as a function. We can say. Okay, so the f is defines variable b. So in function f, we have two variables called as a, b. Okay, so but who is going to call whom? The any other element called as a g. Maybe it is also function. This another function is going to call f, and f is going to call h. So how after calling f by g, the f will call h. Okay, so but in f, what variables we have? We have two variables called as a, right ma? So this can be, so that information have been in terms of text. So in this example variables, a, b are defined in function f. Yes, that is they are local to f, right? We can graphically represent this information as shown below. Yes, so graphical representation of elements and relationships. Yeah, this is. So the g calls f calls h, right? And who is going to define this AB? Obviously f is going to define this AB. So with this neat picture, we come to know that there is a dependency from one function to another. So we have to re-verify that what is the main theme of that function. Okay, why it is called to any other function, why g called f, why f called g, sorry, why f called h, why AB are using in f. So all things we have to be checked. So finally, what can be the result of this applying code segment? So this is the result. Okay, finally to see g calls f again, f calls g h again, sorry, and a and b are defined by f. So this is going to be composite, means mixing. So all things we have to conclude and reconstruct our data. So this is finally. So this process is called as a inverse mapping. Actually, what you will do actually, so whenever application you want to develop, what you will do, first of all we have to identify the variables. The variables are declaring, by using the variables we have to start the code. After writing the code, we have to execute the code. After getting the output, we have to analyze the output. That is the steps we have to follow. But what is happening here? Reverse we are going to get. So we are going to identify some variables, whether we can get the output from dynamic nature or static nature. They are going to be static. Which one is calling that variable? Which function is calling that variable? Okay. If it is identified, what is the value of that variable? So totally we are performing reverse process. Okay. So examples include the following. Okay. So if you want to perform these steps, what we have to think? See, steps. Identify the types of variables, aggregate local variables into functions, right? So this after defining variables, we are going to start the functions, but in the reverse we have to do this. Aggregate members into classes. The members are declaring or defining in the class, but what we are doing, we are aggregating, means we are connecting these members to the class. Next, compose architecture level elements. So the elements which are helpful for our architecture, they are going to be composed. So an example of a query that identifies architecture element is shown in figure. Yes, so this is the query. Subquery, after identifying these all elements and placing in architecture, and we are ready with the architecture to start your process for the documentation. If that is the case, we are going to perform some query. This is. So select T subclass from has subclasses, where superclass is a presentation. They want to present something. Print, what is the condition here? There is no condition here. They want to perform some action. Print logical interaction with some fields. Okay, this is one type of query, but one more query. Select some T name from the element table, where the T name is a presentation only we have to take, or the T name may be B-spline or T name may be color. So after, whenever the data is available, we have to print that. Okay, see, we are finding some element and element value here. Right, whenever there is an element in the table, we are going to get that value. If the value is relevant to our documentation or our architecture, then it can be useful to us to perform all operations. Right, ma? So this is finally reconstructing of a architecture, okay, or documentation reconstruction, a single thing, documentation reconstruction, right. So this is the end of unit 4, ma. This is the end of the unit 4. So in the next classes we will perform unit 5, right. So have a nice day. We will start unit 5. Have a nice day. Till then, bye.